Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
And we're coming back at you, and it takes us a little bit of moment to align the North Poles up with the South Poles and the East and West Poles and all that good stuff to get us in that proper time zone of matching up for a good podcast adventure. Plus, Ryan's also been blowing fucking circuits over there in Europe.
Yeah, so one of the main reasons... So before we get into covering the rest of Scarlet and Violet, I didn't finish the game. I'm going to, but I didn't. The main reason, I know on Octorok Talk is a joke, like, Ryan didn't finish the game, fucking shocker. Well, no, this one, I had every intention to finish it, but at the exact same time, what happened was we just got like a load of our stuff, and I had an adapter that I thought also converted wattage. Spoiler alert, it did not. And that was one of the few adapters we had, and that one got messed up, and I didn't have time to the good one that we were using for the Switch, which I'm not even sure. And I found out the fact we don't even need that. Only for the wattage for the Switch. So now that then like, oh, I could have used that the whole time. So basically there's like one adapter between the whole house. We were just kind of going for, so fun. Anyway, yeah. I got far in the game, but didn't beat it. So yeah, mainly because we only have one working adapter in the house. Well, because for those who don't know, I'm in Europe, and it's U.S. appliances. So yeah.
See, they don't call it the old world for nothing. It feels like you literally have gone back in time. I mean, I know I mentioned this before, but like the background to the wall that you're there, it looks like you're sitting in like a 1942 like kind of style house. Like it looks like you're ready to shoot like a World War II picture over there.
Or like Brad Pitt's gonna come in with a bad Italian accent and like start interrogating people. Yeah.
Yeah, or the Punisher's gonna come in and try to rape you or something like that, like in that Brad Pitt movie. What's his name?
The Punisher is gonna come in and try to rape me.
And the Brad Pitt context. The Brad Pitt tank movie where John Bernthal or whatever, and he's the guy who's just like you can't really trust him, and he's kind of like a lunatic.
Where Brad Pitt walks in and says like, "I need some eggs."
It was like one Brad Pitt World War II movie led to another in my mind. And
I know what you're talking about.
It made some connections way too fast, probably. Because I don't know why. It's like that background reminds me of that scene where they're like in the house and they like commandeer. I think it's like a French house or whatnot. And there's that one girl who's really timid, the nice guy. And John Bernthal's like, "I'll just go back there and rape her. I mean, you're an American. You're better than that." I mean, he doesn't say it like that necessarily, but you can see it in his like demeanor.
So before we talk about Pokemon, before I was gonna say, I thought you were talking about like what movie? Because I know John Bernthal is also the Punisher, but I was thinking Thomas Jane. Like, and the way you said it, I was thinking, what movie does Thomas Jane try to fuck Brad Pitt in World War II? I was really trying to run that through my head. And I'm like, oh, all right. Yeah.
I really hope that's the description on the back of the DVD case. In World War II, like Thomas Jane, parentheses, the Punisher, tries to travel across Europe to rape Brad Pitt. California, spelled with a K. I sort of like pick the most like unknown sort of Brad Pitt movie right off the top. It's like, okay. Yeah.
Stink.
They're gonna go
Stinky
deep behind.
Bitch.
Yeah, stink bitch. The one where Brad Pitt pretty much talks like drunk Batman, but yeah. No. You living in literally the old world where, the future electronics from Japan and America just don't work the same. You need to have PAL converters for everything, and frame rates are lower, and it's just the way of the world.
Yeah, so that's the reason why I wasn't able to finish the game in time. So
that's okay. Your PlayStation Mini will now play faster over there because half those games are in PAL format anyways. So Tekken 3 won't be so slow.
Awesome. Well, it's also something to the effect of like, I mean, it's Pokemon. Where's the big twist, really? I think maybe the big twist was in Silver. Like, oh shit, you got to go back to Kanto. But beyond that, like,
really,
I can't think of a.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I was gonna say, I was thinking about Gold and Silver. I feel like that was the most like daring of all Pokemon games because the amount of stuff that's crammed into that game, there's literally more content in Gold and Silver than any other Pokemon game ever made, I think. Like, and there's stuff that doesn't even exist anymore, but like that they are like, we got 2 worlds in it you can go to. You get to see what happened in Kanto after you beat, the main game. We got a time system. You never seen that before in a video game. It literally, if you play at nighttime, it's nighttime in the game. It had like all these extra features and so on in that game that you kind of like sometimes forget about how much stuff's in there because you just don't see that in any of the other Pokemon games.
Yeah, well, it's also like, I don't know, because that Silver was the last one I played. Well, I didn't finish it at the time, but Silver was the last one I played before I took my long-ass break from the franchise. And then now I'm kind of retroactively cherry-picking other games, getting back into it. And Scarlet, it's one of those games like, yeah, it's a next step up from Sword, but it feels kind of like, because I feel like when people talk about Pokemon, they're either way too forgiving or they expect way too much. I think I'm kind of in the middle because I think this shit should be further along than what it is, because if it was just any other company, it'd be like, because they're like, we want to keep our indie roots and we want to make sure we're like an old fashioned. We don't want to have too big of a staff because we want to have it feel like it's still like has an indie spirit. Like, well, it fucking doesn't. Everyone knows what it is. Down the road from me, there is literally a Pokemon exclusive store. It's not first party, but down the road there is a Pokemon exclusive store here in the Netherlands. There's a couple of those around the world. There's a movie with Ryan Reynolds voicing Pikachu. It's not a small indie thing anymore. They just got like, oh, look, some kids like it.
So let's be honest, it was never really an indie thing. It's made by Nintendo, the biggest like video game company, especially in 1995.
Well, it's kind of like, and it's not don't take this literally, but it's kind of like, to some extent, it's kind of like sort of like Clerks in a sense, because they made it. It took them a long ass time to make it. They did it in their spare time, and it was a very ambitious game for the Game Boy. And they're like, what's the fucking point of even doing this thing, dude? This thing's gonna be like, the Game Boy's on its way out. You're making this. You're pouring your heart and soul into this game.
Yeah, you should have been making it for the Virtual Boy. Come on, like that's the new thing coming out, right? That's the future.
Dude, that's the. Did you see that ad, that Terminator ad, where there's a kid running, and for some reason the thing's like, where the fuck you going? And sits him down and be like,
Yes.
But it's one of those things where, yeah, it had like this really kind of crazy grassroots story about a fan who kind of got this opportunity and made this game in his free time. And Nintendo's like, there's something here. Let's move forward with this. And but from there on in, it wasn't a small deal. It was a very big fucking deal. And the guy had trouble grasping with how big Pokemon was going to become. So when they come in and they say, well, the graphics don't look as good because it's still like a small team because we're trying to give that indie spirit. Fuck you, dude. That's horseshit. This thing, why does it look like it's one of those things like part of me kind of expects it, but then while playing it, I was like, some of the stuff was popping through. I was like, come on, guys, this should be a little further along. I'm not expecting it to be like, like a Rockstar title or a Square Enix title even, but maybe at least as much as like Breath of the Wild quality of graphics,
Yeah, well, yeah, because the graphics, that's the one kind of noticeable thing on there. And I know the Switch is getting towards its end, but even like a small team thing, I'm like, I've seen some small teams where it's only like 3 or 4 guys, and it's a Steam game or a PC game, but like they're pumping out some impressive stuff there. So like, anything's possible, Mario. You just got to believe, but. So yeah, sometimes this game, I will say when that patch, there was that download patch, because I remember like when we first talked about this, we were playing on like the bare, in a sense like the cartridge 1 version. And then the patch, for one, fixed the stupid I don't know why this has become a problem so much nowadays, but like inverted controls are a lot of times not appearing day one on video games. I've had this problem before. I've literally sent messages before to certain game companies, when this like doesn't happen. I'm like, dude, like, what the heck? I remember there was a game called Ion Fury that was a really good game, but for like the first month, they didn't have inverted controls, and I sent them a thing, and I was like, dude, you're literally making a retro game like in the Duke Nukem engine. Why do you not have inverted controls? That's the most retro thing you could, because in the olden days, inverted controls were the normal. You know what I mean? And nowadays, I know ever since Halo, it kind of changed a bit where inverted controls now became, you got to go in the menu every single time and switch to them. But it's like, don't make some retro thing. And then the same thing with Nintendo. I literally had to send a message to Nintendo for when the Mario 64, like that triple pack came out with like Galaxy and Sunshine, and they didn't have inverted controls off the bat. I'm like, and I literally sent a message like, dude, Nintendo, you raised us on inverted controls. You can't switch that all of a sudden now and just take that away from us. Like, you know what I mean? All those years of inverted controls? No. And Pokemon came like that. Sonic the Hedgehog even had that too, because Sonic had the problem. This is the other problem I noticed, is some games you'll switch the inverted controls on. Okay, that made the camera inverted. But then he goes to like the gameplay, like when you're playing a Super Sonic, he's not inverted when he flies though. And it's just like, at least you're not really doing much of Super Sonic. You're just waiting to parry. That's about all you have to do. So I kind of realized it wasn't that big of a deal. But a lot of times that drives me up the wall too, where it's like one thing's inverted, but the other one isn't. So then it makes it really like a cluster.
Well, I'm wondering, like, what kind of inverted controls would you need for this game? There's not a lot of...
The camera wasn't inverted at first, and that's just...
the camera.
And when I don't have the inverted controls, it doesn't sound like much, but like it makes me just look like a goof who's never played video games before, because I'm always pressing it the wrong direction, and it's probably, if anybody was watching, it probably just would make them want to hurl or something like that, because it's just like this weird motion of it not properly going the right direction. It was just one of those things, but... They fixed that there, and I will say that some of the graphical issues were definitely in that like patch. Definitely, I mean, not like ridiculous, but it did make it seem a little bit better. I wasn't seeing through the ground as often as I was, or small things like that, or even having the game where it kind of like froze sometimes.
I had the game crash on me like 5 times.
Oh, really?
I only crashed right. Like I'm about to like capture something that I was looking for a while, then it fucking crashes. Like, of course, right as I throw the fucking Ultra Ball or whatever, that's where it fucking crashes.
God, it happened to me on one of those Team Star battles or whatever. Like, I finally beat it, went through all that stuff, and it crashed. And it's like, oh, okay, where was your last save at? Oh, right before all that. Oh, Jesus.
Well, it's one of those things. Like, and don't take it me complaining about the lack of polish and it not being an indie title, but they're trying to treat Pokemon like it is still sort of indie to some extent. And that's not me just saying that. They had something like that, like in a press release. Like, we want to try and keep it a small team to keep it like that indie spirit, something like that. I just think that's kind of bullshit when it is the most profitable franchise in the world. Like, it makes more money than Disney, it makes more money than Marvel, it makes more money than Star Wars, DC, Harry Potter, whatever. It makes more money than all that shit. Why don't the games represent that? I don't know how the money trickles down and what departments it exactly goes to, but maybe more of it can go towards development or hiring more people. I get they're on a strict schedule, and I understand you can't do everything. And it's not me ever really trying to blame the developers. It's just literally, I think these games, for being the most profitable thing in the world, it should probably look a little better. And it's also something to the effect of actually playing the game. Like, I think I was into Sword and Shield a little more when I first played it, because people have been listening for like the last few years probably heard this, but like, I was one of those people who totally like, oh, Pokemon's lame. I want to get laid, so I don't like Pokemon anymore. Bye, and then later I kind of like, you know what? Like, yeah, I don't give a shit about the anime anymore, but the games were fun. Like, Red, Blue, and Gold and Silver were fun. And then Let's Go came out, and I was kind of like, you know what? Maybe I can hit that little nostalgia button. And then Let's Go came out, I'm like, all right, I'm feeling it again. It's all come back to me. And then Sword came out, like, fuck it, let's get Sword. And then now I've been going back and playing a lot of the other games. So since Sword was the newest one, it was kind of like catching up on, so there's Steel type. I know Steel was in Silver, it was kind of coming back to me. Steel type, there's Fairy type, there's whatever. And then coming over to this, it feels like the next one. And there's new gimmicks, there's new things. But I guess it didn't feel like, I guess, it's, after not playing it for a while, it did seem like a big jump. And I was kind of like, what's everyone bitching about,
Well, I will say this last Pokemon, I kind of had mixed feelings throughout it. Like my overall impression, I did enjoy it. I had a good time, like any other Pokemon or something like that. But I felt like I wasn't like as excited as I have been for like, especially Arc. I think Arceus, that's the thing, is that game raised the bar a little too high. And I think they knew that, because the thing is this game was probably about done by the time Arceus came out. So they're like, crap. But, beyond that, I just feel like I wasn't even into it as much as maybe Sword and Shield kind of was, and it's not bad, but I felt like, what felt like was really kind of missing more than anything else in this game was that the fact that when you go to like the towns, these towns are very barren. Like you could barely go into any buildings. Like, so you go to a town and like literally the only thing you do is you're like, oh, hit the Pokemon Center, which is like now just like a kiosk on the outside. You know what I mean? Don't even have to even go inside. And then I go to the gym and then I'm kind of done. There's literally like nothing to buy in that game, like other than like Pokeballs and so on like that. Like, even, like, the outfits. I remember I was bitching about the school outfits in the beginning. Like, I went through that whole game. It's like, oh, I guess you can't buy anything but shoes, gloves, and hats. Like, well...
I was feeling it, yeah.
And I was like, that sounds like such a goofy thing, like, but I really got, like, I don't know. I got into like, each town I would go to, like, in Sword and Shield, I'd be like, oh, I'm getting myself a new outfit. So I gotta find some cool stuff here. It was a small thing, but, like, that's what I blew my money on, was on, like, new clothes every single time I went to a new place. And there was things to get. And I felt like in this one, there really isn't anything. Like, they got all the restaurants you can go to, and it's like,
joy for that, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, and that's the same thing too. Like, when you do like the lunches, and you're like, oh, I could do my Italian, sub sandwich out here, and or I could go have the guy at Subway at every single like town make one for me. I love how there's literally a Subway in this game. It's not called Subway, but let's be honest, it is 100% Subway on the inside. It's like the only building you could go into.
Well, it's also something to the degree of like. Yeah, the last one, they did the whole thing, like, you can camp and play with them. And I did that for experience, but it'll be like, all right, I'll make some curry or whatever, and then we're all just, I'll shake the thing in front of you. All right, by this point, I have, like, a deity on my fucking team, but apparently I can still get his attention by just shaking this little cat toy in front of his face, So I'm like, all right, whatever. This is just to get your experience up. Okay, cool. We're done with that. Now let's go fucking do shit, I guess. And then this one, I never even bothered with the picnic thing. I'm like,
I tried it once.
I don't give a shit.
And they put mayonnaise on my sandwich, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing this again. Fuck. No. A ham sandwich doesn't need mayo. I can do the mustard, but we ain't doing the mayo. You know what I mean? So I felt like...
Throw some hot sauce.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? I need to pull out my undercover brother hot sauce watch. You know what I mean? That's the only safe thing. So, but yeah, it's like, and the weird thing too is that this sounds kind of weird, but like, this game, it just felt like, you know what is weird? It felt like almost like Dragon Ball Z Kai, where you start eliminating all like sort of like the in-between side kind of stories, and then you feel like you're kind of like missing stuff, because even like when you go into a town, you really can't even talk to half the people either. They just have like the slight like pops up and there's nothing there, and I felt like there was very few people that you'd run into that would be like, here, I'll trade you an item, or here's like this and stuff like that, like small things that you sort of take for granted that are literally in like red and blue and on, like just seem to be kind of missing in this one. It's almost like they just like they did the thing where they trimmed the fat, but they got rid of all the fat, and so now the meal's not nearly as tasty as it should be.
Well, I feel like in concept, a lot of the stuff sounds cool. Like the idea of like you can go to any gym you want in whatever order you want, but keep in mind
I like that.
I like that, yeah. And then there's the whole thing about like I like the whole thing about Team Star or whatever. You have to go raid their bases. That's a set of missions, and then there's the dude who you're finding the perfect herbs or whatever for sandwiches, and then to get them you have to fight like a Titan Pokemon. Mm-hmm. That in concept is cool, but the thing with that, and I'm just gonna bitch again for a second here. Like, I just gotta get this out of the way before I forget. The whole Titan Pokemon thing, that'd be cool if I could fucking catch them. Yeah, I don't have any interest in battling something in Pokemon I can't catch. So why is this thing out here? What's the point? Like, oh, you can capture that. Oh, I can't. Just the smaller version, so in the wild. Like, well, I don't want. I mean, what's the point of bringing in? I know we had Gigamax and Sword. We can make them big, yeah, but I assume that something, if it's big or giant like that, has its own properties. Maybe there's something down the line, or maybe there's something that I missed or didn't get to yet, where you do get the giant Titan Pokemon. But doesn't look like it from where I'm at. So
yeah, I never. You're never able to catch them. I mean, it leads to a farther story farther in the game, but like, you're never catching the giant ones. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and then so there's that. So like, I like the idea of like, here's 3 different quests which all have a bunch of their own steps. You can do it whatever in order, and I wasn't really knocking them out like systematically. I was kind of like walking until I came across a gym, or I was going until I came across a base, or until a message came up like, hey, there's a Titan nearby. Mm-hmm. There seems to be this like resurgence of interest in like Titans, because that's what they call I don't think it's just strictly because of Attack on Titan, but because that's what they call the bosses in Sonic. They're in this. And now people are starting to reference Shadow of the Colossus. Everyone's favorite, Titan AE, yeah.
Love that movie. I don't know. I feel like it's like that thing. I think it was a resurgence of Neon Genesis Evangelion. This sounds kind of weird, but I felt like everybody kind of went back and watched it all at the same time, and it was like, shit, this is a good show. Like, and then started putting some of those ideas into stuff.
Well, Sonic Frontiers, definitely.
I'm not. That one was 100%. Shit, like Dr.
So
Robotnik's daughter was like, Robotnik was literally watching it, and he's like, hey, that Ray Ray girl's pretty cool. You know what? If I had a daughter, it'd be just like her. Not fucking Shinji. If I had a daughter, it would never be like Shinji. That's a boy. That's not a fucking boy.
Good thing I left that fucking thing at the train station,
It's a show about a bunch of girls. I watched the entire thing. That can't be a boy.
Well, even like the way the robots look, they look like they're either like Avas or like some of the angels from that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So even like there's like when you get near the end and they have all the red flare and shit, and they're in space and there's a flashback. So I'm like, it feels kind of like end of Evangelion because space is kind of red for a second, and they're all I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, there is kind of a resurgence of that to some extent. But as far as Pokemon goes, I mean, I'm playing the game and I'm enjoying it and I'm liking it. I'm gonna finish it, but I feel like myself kind of going through the motions, and I think it's because, I mean, just me personally, I think it's because I played Sword, and Sword was like coming back to something I haven't played in a long time, recognizing certain things, but some things are different. And then Arceus was different enough. It's still at its core Pokemon, but it was different enough. And then this, it feels like, I guess it does. I'm not going to say it feels as much as a step back. Graphically, in some ways, it kind of feels like a step back, but somehow. But but like just gameplay wise, it feels more of like, oh, we've done this before. I mean, I know all Pokemons we've done this before, but even more so than previous games I've played,
Well, you know what? It's another thing, and I see this in some other kind of RPGs as well too, is that sometimes I feel there's some of these games where they cut some of this stuff out that somebody probably bitched at one point in time, but then sometimes you kind of realize that some of that adds. Maybe you don't need always as much, but sometimes it adds to having more depth and dimension to it, because it's one of those ones, like, it just sounds kind of weird, but like in this game, you barely run across any trainers. It felt like there's like 50 trainers in all in this entire game, like out there. I mean, there's probably more than that, but and now granted, I will say there's sometimes this trainer fatigue in a lot of the older Pokemon games where I feel like once I get past about Gym 4 or 5, it's just like, okay, here's the next onslaught of people before I get to the next town. Okay. You're dead. You're dead. You start getting to that kind of point. So, I mean, I do kind of get it, but it felt like somebody said that, and then I was like, you know what? Instead, there'll be like 4 trainers each time you kind of go out there, and they'll be kind of hard to find, too, actually. So, we're just going to kind of put them out there, and it's kind of weird because that was always like your core way of getting experience. And then, I mean, I loved it when they started giving it where you could get experience for catching Pokemon and so on. And this game kind of adds another element where you can throw your Pokemon out and they just go out and just murder families of Pokemon on its own. And I felt at first, I'm like, that's kind of a cool feature, but I felt like it sort of robbed the game a little bit of almost in its RPG-ness. Like, it just kind of felt like, if I just need a train, you're almost like not even playing. It's kind of like on autopilot. The same way that like when certain RPGs put auto battle in there, I'm like, auto battle, the game is an RPG. What else are you going to be doing? You know what I mean? Shit, that's like having auto battle in Devil May Cry. Like, what would be the point of playing it anymore?
Yeah, well, even that whole part of it, the auto thing, I kind of get that, because there's that point where you're just kind of grinding, and it just like you have to have the animation of the, like, I mean, I guess you take animations off or whatever, but I kind of get that to some extent. But at the exact same time, I do appreciate there is that limit to where you just can't do it and just push A to win or whatever. It's more of like, oh, your guy got worn out, and the game also takes into account like, okay, your guy is, let's say, a fire type, that thing is a rock type, and it's a higher level than you. So you can go, and it might bring it down, but he's probably going to immediately lose half his health, at least, if you go after it. So there's something like that. So, I would have my guy go on a little murder rampage and get some points, then start looking to see what's around. Like, oh, don't fight him. Here, let me get the other guy out, I will say, as far as the randomized battles go, I feel like the majority of them were pretty easy, but just in exploring around, I went to like just the most drastic jump. Just in exploring around, I wandered over to the the building that leads to the Pokemon Elite Four or whatever, right? And there's some person out there like, oh wow, here's my pig thing that you fought 800 of these fucking things.
And he's like level 7. Or 15 or something.
Like 15. Just wait and see. By this point, I'm like level 30 or something. I'm like, all right, fool, whatever, kid. And then you go up. There's another guy over there. He's just like, hey, kid, you think you're tough? Like, I just knocked the fuck out of that. Then we're like, holy shit, this guy's like level 50. And then like my guys are like level 30 by this point. And I was like, I managed to win that fight. But I was like, that was actually kind of a cool experience. Kind of like, because I haven't really felt that in a Pokemon game in a while. Like walking into something, like, whatever, dude, I can not. Oh shit, So feeling kind of like those trainers you wipe the floor with every day. So that was, and I actually managed to beat the guy, but just barely, because my guys were like, I wasn't healed up or anything. I didn't take any. I just thought, oh, it's just another trainer that it's gonna be whatever, because I thought there was like a cap on those guys, but So, I mean, that's like one out of, I don't know, like 2 battles I had like that. I will say, right now I'm at like 7. Oh, wait, there's 8 gym badges, right? 8?
Yeah. It's like 8, and then the others are like 6 and 6, I think, or 5 and 5 maybe. I can't remember.
Yeah, so I think I'm at gym battle 6 for myself, and I didn't do them all in order. I just kind of, whatever came up first to me.
Well, is there an order of them, like how you're supposed to go? I mean, I know there is.
There's
like if you looked it up,
there's a level progression. There's a level progression.
I know if you looked them up, because I think that's one of the things that was kind of neat, is just because of like randomly exploring. Is I did run into some gyms where it's like, oh shit, this gym's actually kind of tough, because I got here, and it's like they're slightly ahead, and I felt like that was kind of nice that their levels were kind of high, because it gave me a bit of a challenge and so on like that. Pretty much what that meant, though, is that there was another gym now that's going to be ridiculously easy, because now you're like way ahead of the game. But I thought that part was really cool, that there was some tough moments, you know what I mean, just because of by doing them wrong. If you had like the Mega Man cheat sheet and you knew which one to go to first, of course it would just be like a regular Pokemon game, and you'd just probably be fine the whole way through.
Yeah, I walked past, because when you go into that main city, I didn't realize there's like 3 ways to exit and go through into the next area, and I went to the wrong way. So it wasn't like the hardest area. It was something that was roughly the same level as me. But I was apparently supposed to go to the left or whatever, to like the olive fields and all that, and fight the bug lady. And the bug lady was the second to last person I fought so far. So I'm going in with like level like 40 somethings, and she has like level like 10s, So, but I will say right now I have to go back and play it. I turned it off. I'm not gonna. like you can't lose. Like I don't want to lose half my fucking money. Fuck that. Like I went in to battle the psychic lady, and my guys are roughly the same level, but I kind of fucked myself because I didn't really have by happenstance. I would usually have a couple of characters with like strong enough characters with dark moves or a bug attack or something, but I didn't have very many of those. So like, let's look at some recent bug or dark or ghost type that I caught recently, or poison that I caught recently to fight this lady. And I was training them up, and I'm like, God, go and then taking the poisons in there to fight her. I'm like, poison is like, even against the ones it's strong against, it is like one of the most useless fucking types. It has this like 2 or 3 things it's strong against, and past that, it's like fucking useless.
You know, I've kind of come to the conclusion when I was playing this game, because I had kind of an oddball team. Like, it took me a while to sort of find characters that I really kind of was, like, attached to and so on like that. And even towards the end, it kind of just felt like, well, whatever. These guys are kind of going with me, you know. But I thought about it, I'm like, you know, it's the ever classic, the 3 types that generally kick ass to everything along the way is a fire Pokemon, electric Pokemon, and a psychic Pokemon. That's like my bread and butter team. Like, I feel like I could pretty much take out anybody with those 3 styles of Pokemon. Everything else is kind of a bonus. You know, water's nice here and there, but for the most part, water still always gets his ass kind of whooped every once in a while. You know, it's kind of the same thing with plant. There's a moment for plant, but every single plant Pokemon always still kind of, other than their like couple purposes, they still kind of get their ass just whooped half the time. You know, but like generally it's that classic one. If you got a good fire Pokemon and a good psychic Pokemon and a good like electric, you can generally, between those 3, they'll pretty much take on the weakness of just about anything else. Or if you got like, it's the classic Charizard thing, you could just bully your way through half the stuff because of how powerful that Pokemon is.
Yeah, I didn't have any. I mean, I had like 1 or 2 with some psychic attacks, but they weren't even like the best psychic attacks. So there was like, all right, let me just go train up like 3. Let me put away a couple of my other guys and train these guys up for this gym, and then put them in the box and they'll be used again. But like my team I have right now, and yeah, the duck was a mistake. The duck was a big mistake.
The duck was, yeah. And it's one of those ones where I'm like, next Pokemon game, I'm just going with the fire type. You know what I mean? Screw these water type ones. I'm not taking the water type anymore. You know what I mean? Squirrel's cute and all, but like beyond that.
Well, I feel like, I'll be honest, like these starters for this particular game, I mean, we're being probably a little biased because we like Gen 1 so much, you know, is one that brought us in. And I don't think that, I mean, you could choose any of those 3 for Gen 1, and I get why. But at the exact same time, these ones, I'm just like, what do we got? Like the coolest one to me in hindsight, the reason I didn't get it is because I thought I can get like stuff from Pokemon Home and drop it in there, but it's not compatible with it yet. It's like, oh shit, all right, well, I wish I knew that before I picked the fucking duck thing. You know? Yeah. But like, so it was, my guys right now is the duck thing. There's the Pikachu fighting type thing, which you get early on.
Now, really quickly, I want to ask you this before you go too far. Did you have Scarlet or Violet?
I had Scarlet.
Okay, because I never found that Pikachu thing, and I'm like, that must be a Scarlet thing then. I saw a trainer have it, but I didn't find it in Violet at least.
I think it's in both. It's like kind of like a little brown mouse Pokemon. Like, at a first glance, I haven't put together it's like a Pikachu ripoff, but it's basically a little brown mouse thing. Mm-hmm. And its second form is more closer to Pikachu. It's a little bigger, and it's called like Pimo or Pomo, something kind of like that. And it's basically just an electric fighting type.
So as I said, I saw that Pokemon, but I felt like I never could find it to catch it at least.
Maybe it is well, it's in Scarlet, so yeah. Do you have Violet?
I got Violet, so.
Oh, you got Violet, okay. Yeah, I got Scarlet. So, and you start off a different school. You have a different thing you ride on, I'm guessing too.
Different Pokehog. I just love. I do love the Pokehog though. As you come into town as like a 12-year-old girl just on this motorcycle driving through, like literally, like think about it, like nobody's seen this Pokemon ever in their entire life, and you come riding through like just like pulling up to the gym, just like, hey, park it. You know what I mean? Take the keys. Don't put any scratches on my Pokemon.
Are you like Steve Martin in Little Shop of Horrors? Just get off, it goes a few steps,
just keeps going.
It just stops. And then when it stops, that's when you start walking in.
Yeah, exactly. It's just one of those ones. I did love kind of like driving around. I don't know why. It just made me laugh. Because the thing was, is like, I think it was Sword and Shield. Like Sword and Shield, they made you wear the stupid like safety kids like bicycle helmet and like, you know, reflector suit and all that stuff. So I literally never rode the bike because of that. Because I'm like, no. I'm playing a video game. I don't need safety in video games and stuff. And this one, I like how no. You ride your hog. You ride it like you're Nikki Sixx in 1986. You know what I mean? No helmet, no problem.
That's how they sold it to the kids.
You know, it's one of those things.
Hey, kids, you know who Nikki Sixx is? No. Oh, he's the bass player to Motley Crue. They're kind of problematic, aren't they? Oh, fuck. Yeah,
yeah, probably is one of those ones. Because I feel like the farther I get in these Pokemon games, too, when I see like certain gym leaders and so on, like, I'm like, oh, yeah, my generation was a long time ago. That's like the first thing I know is like when there's certain characters and you go, oh.
The streamer? There's the streamer character.
Yeah, there's a streamer, which I've been kind of used because there's been streamer characters in a handful of video games. The worst one was the Spider-Man one. Holy crap. That chick that they made the streamer one, it was just like, go away. Spider-Man, I know you don't kill, but this is the one time that it would be perfect. No one's going to judge you for killing this lady.
Was this the Miles Morales one, or is this
No, it's in the first Spider-Man one. It's in the Peter Parker game.
Oh,
Spider-Man Peter Parker version. Miles Morales, like almost like a Pokemon thing.
Yeah, kind of. I need to finish it. I was playing it, but then the move and all that. Yeah, I'll have to finish that one. No, even though thing with the streamer, like I feel like it was once again one of those things. Like even though like Nintendo's fan bases, a lot of them, everyone lives online. They didn't really seem to show that as much because even if it was like supposed to be like, let's do a collab, let's create some content, they're just using the buzzwords. Like, you know what? If this was their stream, wouldn't you have like a chat thing going down the side or something kind of like that? You know, or like thanks for the subs or something. You think there would have been just something that kind of like resembled it more. But I mean, I know you're not going to put like show your tits or some shit like that. You know, so it's one of those kind of things.
Yeah, but you know, there's always somebody out there. The professor is trying to hide his claws.
Mods, ban him. Yeah.
Well, also, this one also, you know what's the thing? Because this thing, like, I know last time we were trying to figure out where this game was taking place. And we're like, does it take place in South America, take place in Mediterranean? The second I saw all the sub sandwiches, I'm like, no, it's fully Italian. But then it's like, I love how it's like, it's got this Italian thing. And then somebody else really was like, you know what? I want to shove a rockabilly theme in here. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, let's throw some rockabilly stuff in there. Like, you know, because there was even a Pokemon that I had, it was called Squawkabilly, and that Pokemon just had such a cool name that I kept it with me the whole time. It wasn't really the greatest Pokemon, let's be honest. It was kind of like Farfetch, where it's like a bird that never evolves, and generally Pokemon that don't evolve are just never nearly as good as other ones, but I love Squawkabilly so much that I kept him around the entire game, just because that name just made me smile, and he had a pompadour and everything like that.
Well, I imagine that maybe another game, because, you know, later in the line they give evolutions to him. Maybe he'll become the king, you know, and has kind of like an Elvis type thing. That'd be kind of cool, you know.
He has like shades on and everything.
Has like his feathers look kind of like a long white like gown kind of thing, you know. But what was I gonna say? My team, right where I'm at right now, aside from my temporary team to fight this psychic lady, the bird thing, the Pimo, whatever his name is. Then I have what's Delphon, the elephant thing, the ground type elephant thing.
Oh yeah,
that was
yeah.
in silver. Mm-hmm. He's always pretty good. Growlithe, because Growlithe's my favorite, and I needed a fire type.
Yep, that's like one of the best fire types to get, anyways.
The goat thing, the billy goat thing.
I heard the goat thing too. Go goat or whatever. Or,
yeah, go goat.
You know, he was classic. He was classic. Plant type where like there was when there's a moment when you need him, he does great. But beyond that, that's about it.
He actually, mine's trained up pretty good. I mean, generally, I think, you know, there's just the one. Yeah, obviously, don't throw him out to fire guys, but I think as long as he's not going against fire or something like, or fire or air, he's generally pretty good majority of the time. And then God, what was the other one? The other one was I had that Char Cadet thing for a while, but then I saw to evolve him, I had to do like a very like looked like a big laundry list of just different shit I had to collect. I'm like, not fucking worth it. Nah, you go in the box. Not doing this shit.
You know, I had that Pokemon because I grabbed that Pokemon right off the back. It's like, what the fuck is this thing? I found it just out in the wild, and I was like, okay, cool. It's like a fire type, and it had like I think some psychic moves or something like that to go with it. And I was like, sure, I'll take this guy along. And then for the longest time, I was like, when the hell is this guy going to evolve? He's like level 48. And then I finally just looked it up. And all I had to do was go to this one area that I actually happened to be right when I looked that thing up. And then just go kill 10 of these little teeny Pokemon. And then take the 10 items or whatever it was, 10 or 20 items, over to this one person to trade in another town. And then he evolved. And when he evolved, he had this amazing attack called Bitter Blade that was like a really strong fire attack, and every single time you hit him with it, he healed too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, my guy, well, your version, he evolves into like a ghost version where he has 2 blades.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because mine was a
version.
The ghost fire.
The Scarlet version, he evolves into like psychic and fire. So... for a minute, I was rocking 2 fire guys because planning to turn him into the psychic thing once it got there. But then I was just like, I don't want to do that shit. Maybe because maybe I was on the other side of the map. Like, fuck that. I'm not going all the way over there right now. And then I don't remember my last guy. I'm sure it'll come to me later. But yeah, so that's kind of roughly my team. And I'm like I said, I like the game. It just doesn't. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's too much of the same. Maybe it's time to no pun intended, but maybe it's time for this thing to evolve a little bit. You know.
Well, it's that, but it's like I feel like there's just stuff missing in it. I feel like it's kind of like there's just not as much stuff as like some of the previous games, like Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon, and I can even say all the way back to like Gold and Silver and Red and Blue. There's like I feel like this one just has kind of. It sounds weird, but less adventure, if that makes any sense. The game's kind of straightforward. It's like go to the gym, kill everything along the way, go to the Team Star, kill everything along the way, and go get the legendary stuff. And that stuff's all cool and dandy, but like, you know, like I even just think it's like, you know, you think of a lot of the older Pokemon games, I'm just going to use Red and Blue as my example, but it's like, you know, you have all these kind of like miscellaneous sort of side adventures and you explore through caves and all this kind of stuff that like doesn't really exist anymore in these Pokemon games. And I feel like it sort of blands it out in a weird way that it doesn't feel like your journey's like as intense. I mean, this game still took me like 23 hours all in all to beat everything, including like the post game and all that kind of stuff. You know, not catch everything, but you know, beat all the main stories. And it's just so it's like the same length, but it just kind of has that thing where like I just feel like there's almost like it's like the best way I can say it's like Dragon Ball Z Kai. Like I feel like the in between stuff that people don't think much of, but when you take it away, it's like oh that makes the journey just not seem nearly as like epic anymore.
I guess I'm kind of thinking in the aspect of how do I put it? I guess it does feel a lot like bigger because you can kind of go off and do whatever you want, but I guess by this point we're used to open worlds, where I guess before when it was a more linear thing where it was almost just kind of a series of hallways you're kind of walking down into the next mission. It was kind of this thing of like when you first play like Red and Blue and Yellow, you don't know what the next place is going to be. Mm-hmm. So you're just kind of along for the ride. Or here, you're like, I don't feel like going for a cave yet, so I'm going to go the other way. Or and all the towns basically look the same. Like, okay, this one kind of has, this one's a little bit inspired by Rome. This one's a little bit inspired by, you know, some city in Greece, you know, like Athens or whatever. But like a lot of it just kind of really ran together as far as like towns themselves. Like, I mean, sure, you could kind of look around and see like, okay, they grow olives here. But beyond that, it's like, oh, it's the same kind of like, I guess there's also something to be added to, like, I appreciate it's more mission based to some extent, but maybe if they did more with like the story, I don't know. I'm not that I'm expecting, you know, a Hideo Kojima level story in a Pokemon game or anything, but if they just kind of tried a little something more with it, tried a little, I don't know, expand upon it. You know,
and it's one of the ones like, I mean, like, yeah, you could always add to the story, and For me, it's like it's not necessarily even. I mean, like that's always something that could be, but like it's just that weird thing of just not having. I don't know. It's just that thing that like it's like they try to make a game like, oh, we're gonna make it seem like it's more grand, but then it almost feels smaller because it's missing. It's almost like they traded stuff. So it's like to have the sort of open world style where you can just kind of walk in whatever direction you are. It felt like that took out like some of these side kind of missions and quests and just different other areas you would kind of explore in other Pokemon games. It was like the trade-off. And I felt like that kind of made it feel smaller. I mean, I'll even say this because Sword and Shield even kind of is like that too, because that game was like, I really like that game, but it is very like straightforward. It's like there's no extra to that.
Well, that one was very much just kind of. I think there's some gyms you can do in a different order, but generally it was just kind of like go here, go to the gym, and like wow, every once in a while I bump into these like wannabe punk rockers. But it's nothing really that hard. It really is just very point A to point B. Here's the gym. I don't have to go get someone a glass of water before I go battle the gym leader. I don't got to go do some story-based thing to get around this obstacle to let me go to the gym. It just all kind of happens. All the story stuff kind of comes in at the very end because it's like, oh, there's corruption in the Pokemon League or whatever in that one. So, which was interesting because I don't know if they ever did that before in previous games, but this one right here, I think it's more of just I kind of see what you mean because I really couldn't put my finger on it exactly, but yeah, it doesn't feel as grand even though I can kind of go anywhere and do anything. But maybe since we're so used to that by now, it doesn't feel like that big of a deal.
Well, it's even like I'll say it's a problem in a lot of games too because a lot of games they do the thing where they make it open world, but it's really one of those ones at the end of the day. It's, there's kind of true open world is a very, very rare type of game. Most games they're like linear open world and things like that. And a lot of games are kind of like, since we mentioned Spider-Man, I'll mention Spider-Man again. It's like, yeah, you could swing around anywhere in New York, but it's not like you can go into any of those buildings other than like a mission one or something like that. So it kind of has like, it's just like you're kind of literally skimming the surface of what you're on. You know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like the thing, like instead of trying to make bigger maps, I feel like it's nicer if you can make more detailed and interactive kind of worlds. And I felt like that's the main thing I think is kind of missing in this one is the interactiveness. It's just, as I said, you could barely go into any buildings. There's nothing really to buy other than like the Pokemart. There's you can't really even talk to half the people. It's just kind of weird. There's just like in a typical old-fashioned RPG, when you entered a new town, the way you're supposed to sort of do it properly is you go into every building and you talk to every, character in there and so on like that, because you never know who's going to tell you what or who's going to give you what and so on. And you kind of did that, and that kind of gave you a good, like, understanding of everything going on there. You learned some stuff along the way. I know that that's kind of old-fashioned and so on, but I felt like sometimes small things like that kind of add to a more of an adventure, I guess is what I'm going at.
Well, it seems to be because earlier I said, like in original games, majority of the Pokemon games, you'd go into a town and there'd always be something stopping you from getting to the gym. You need to get like this HM, or you need to go stop this to make these people stop guarding the section of the town so you can go over there and challenge the gym leader. This one, it almost does this thing where you kind of have that, but that's part of the gym. That's part of the gym thing. You go to the gym like, oh, now we're going to go play hide and seek in the city. It's going to be fun, kids. It's like, or we can just fucking battle. No, we got to go find some fucking sunflowers. Just come on, kids. Come on. You're like, all right, great. We'll go collect some fucking sunflowers, And people say, it's a kid's game. Like, yeah, it's a kid's game. But a lot of people that played the original still play the game. And I'm not talking shit on the game for having cute, cuddly things here and there. I know who the main demographic is by this point. At that exact same time, though, it's just like, come on, dude. This is not a better replacement. I'd rather go like take down like a Team Rocket or Team Star base before having to go like wander around the town like, oh, gee, what's the secret menu item? Go talk to some people and try and figure out what the secret menu item is. Doesn't that sound like fun? No, not really. I'd rather just get into a fucking fight, or yeah, okay, sure, to get some information you have to battle a few people, but not. It wasn't like that many, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You're not solving any puzzles or anything like that. Like, I feel like that's the stuff, and that's taken out of a lot of video games. It's sort of like challenges and puzzles and things like that. I will say that when you mentioned like the one with the secret menu, I will say that gym leader though is one of my favorite gym leaders I think I've ever seen in a Pokemon game, because I loved how it's just here's the guy.
How boring he was.
Yeah, he's like you know what? I work a shitty job, but I do my best. I get up every day. The wife hates me because I'm at work, for 24 hours a day and so on like that. And I like how he's like, what do you use to fight? I use normal type because normal's simple, normal's basic, just like me. I just thought that character was hilarious the whole time, and just like almost like how like the guy's like borderline. He's like the best employee, but he's also your main employee who's about ready to kill himself too at the same time.
See how Larry's doing. Like Larry, he says he prefers normal, but he's kind of going down the dark path, if you know what I mean.
But I thought that guy was really fun, because that's the thing. There is some fun stuff in this game, and it's like I enjoyed my overall experience. I know it sounds like we're kind of going on like, well, this is but I do just feel there's just there's just a little bit of this like extra stuff, just small stuff. It's really small stuff that I feel that's kind of just a little bit different.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we're both I'm not even done with it yet, and I enjoyed the game. I liked it. I'm having fun with it, but I'm not like blown away by it. Like it's just kind of one of those things, and maybe it comes up because I'm playing catch up now, so I'm seeing all these games that I think did a pretty good job before. Maybe I'm being a little forgiving since some of these games are older. But at the same time, like I said, Sword and Shield was me coming back to this thing after a long time, and then kind of getting that sense that get that little serotonin, like little serotonin shot. And then Arceus, like I said, was different enough, but it was still Pokemon, still basically the same thing at the end of the day, but different enough, and there was some challenge to it. Where this, it's like, it's not really, that hard. And then Pokemon's never really been that hard at the end of the day. But at the same time, it feels, they're trying to make it seem grander and bigger. But without that little extra polish, which they should have the money to do, it just feels kind of like a big, empty, like, GameCube game. Really. Yeah,
that's probably the best way to say it. It feels empty. I don't know. Like, other than catching Pokemon and, like, murdering families of Pokemon, like, there's not... It just feels like there's just, like there could be more little things out there, like not grand things, just little things, just little extra details, Yeah,
and once again, I'm not expecting like Red Dead Redemption 2 level graphics or like, that level of like, each character has like, a schedule and they walk around, you watch them all day or nothing like that. I mean, I'm talking like if they, I don't know, they just, I've said it, I just be repeating myself by this point, We both like the game.
Well, you know what you can always go do? You could go take classes at the school.
I didn't even bother with that. I'm assuming it's something like, here's a few things, no kids, now it's for battle. I'm guessing that's what it is, but I can go out into the open world and do that.
No, I think I tried one of them once just to see, and it literally felt like it was just more tutorial stuff. Like it was just trying to tell you, this is how you catch a Pokemon, this is how you use a potion. And all that stuff. The one I thought was funny though is because you can kind of make relationships with like the people in there. I mean, not nothing too exciting, not like Mass Effect or anything, but it's one of those ones. The description. There's like the nurse lady, and for some reason it feels kind of insulting towards if you're like a nurse, because it's like she's a nurse, but she can't get into real like education. If she's not a teacher, she's just kind of a joke. But then it's like all the kids like to sort of hang out with the nurse, or it says like all the boys seem to be their favorite teacher. So it has like there's some kind of funny stuff in there, but it does have this weird like underlying story, I feel like, where it's trying to be like, I don't know if it's just that thing where they're trying to go, okay kids, you know what, school's important, we want you to go to school, we want you to do right, and we also want you to not bully, because the Team Star thing, when you kind of realize what that story is, it's like, okay, here's a bunch of these douchebags out here like trying to do their own thing and what have you and so on. And then it starts showing their backstories and every single one of them. It's just like, you know what, we were just bullied so hard at school that we decided, you know what, let's up the ante and now we'll be the bullies and we'll show them who's the best, you know what I mean? And then it's just kind of like, No, you guys are just a bunch of losers. Let's be honest. You guys are lame. Nobody likes you. You know what I mean? Like, don't try to tell me to be friends with the bullies.
Yeah, well, there's the one guy who used dark types, who had like, he's like the DJ or whatever. Like, of course no one likes you. You're the fucking DJ. This sounds so this is so like I guess hometown, but this sounds weird. Okay, nobody else gonna really know what we're talking about, but you know that DJ guy? Did that guy look? Do you remember Walt Hines from school? Oh,
of Walt and Pat. Like, I don't know why. Like that guy. If Walt was a Pokemon character, like that's looked like. I saw that guy. I was like, holy crap! Not saying about any of the other stuff with the character's personality or anything, just the way he looks.
And just forgetting that you used to DJ, what I mean by not the DJ in general, like if you have a DJ job, fuck you! I mean those guys, like, I just like, I know people who make music and they're cool and all that kind of stuff, but just the rich kid who skips his classes and just likes to make music and like, yeah, check this out, you know, like I don't know, just that guy, just I was like, oh, fuck this guy. No wonder. He was probably the guy trying to like sell fucking Molly and then got fucking booted off the campus or whatever, you know?
Exactly. Well, let's be honest, like I know this day and age, like people like a DJ is put in the same category as an actual musician, as somebody who plays the drums, guitar, or sing. But let's be honest, a DJ is not an actual musician. They can do, unless you're like Jazzy Jeff. Jazzy Jeff's like the exceptional one. And, you know, some of the really old guys, because that's actually pretty impressive, taking all like that stuff and actually turning it into like that. But a modern DJ, unless they play keyboard or unless they sing or unless they do something like that and actually can play an instrument, they're not a musician. But like, they get treated like that. Like when you see them there, it's like if this game was like in 1995, that guy would be playing guitar. You know what I mean? But nowadays, that's kind of the new guitar player, that guy, or the new whatever you want to say musician, is a DJ.
Yeah, and I just didn't like that. They wanted me to feel bad for that guy because he's the rich kid who got a little bit of power and it went to his head and just like, it's like, yeah, maybe I need to rethink some things. Yeah, maybe you need to rethink some things. You just gotta get the fuck out of here because no one likes you. How about that? I could make it a lot easier for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I just felt like all those Team Star people are like, these aren't good people. These guys are not good people. I don't know why like society keeps wanting us to like, we're getting to this weird point where it's like all of a sudden it's like bullying's bad, and now we're at this point where like, you know what? No. The bully is actually the victim of all this. Like I feel like I keep seeing stuff just like the Superman Batman movie with like the Super Sons. We're getting to this point where like the bully is now the victim.
Well, it was also that was pointing out what's wrong with that idea of just taking away all. I mean, I don't want to go on like some kind of, not like a Fox News type of thing. Like we're taking away all we're just giving them no responsibility, not like that, but in a way of like, I mean, people are nuanced majority of the time, but at the same time, there is that thing of like, they try to do this thing like, oh, they don't have any self-agency because like, well, they came from a broken home. Like, yeah, okay, we should keep that in mind. That means you should try and be his friend. No, fuck him. He started this shit. Why the fuck should I have to be his friend? You know,
yeah.
So maybe it means you being the bigger man. Why the fuck do I have to be a bigger man to a guy who's just going to start shit with me all the fucking time? That's fucking bullshit, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, and I think the Pokemon thing, they're just trying to do like the friendly rival thing. That is, and I know we say this every time a new game comes out, but that is so much more irritating than having the guy who's just a dick to you right off the bat.
Yeah, I agree there. I mean, I will say Nomura, I oddly prefer her more just because she makes me kind of laugh because she's such a loon. Because this lady is like, talking about someone who has real mental issues. You know what I mean? She's a psychopath in a sense. And I will say I would rather have the psychopath who thinks that you're best friends, but you know that like on a slumber party you would never close your eyes. You know what I mean? It's like one of those ones. And I will say I like that better than like the god awful Hop, the worst of the bunch.
Oh,
and at least
he just does this the whole time, like double fisting the whole time whenever he's excited.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take the more.
He's jerking off two ghosts.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean, and just like shaking it all over himself. But like I will take her more than this, and I mean, because you sort of have there's that, and then there's like the little like emo girl, and then there's of course the guy with the you know the '80s mullet who's just trying to feed his dog Subway sandwiches.
Well, there's also like this isn't actually a reoccurring guy. But these are those moments where I kind of like where somebody comes in like when you have the person that comes in that's way too overconfident, like I got this, and they get showed up by an 11-year-old. Like I remember when I was trying to look for there's the guy, the water type gym leader, and he goes to an auction, and you want to talk to him, and some fucking like fucking brown nose kiss ass comes out of nowhere. He's just like, "Hey kid, I'm his protege. If you want to talk to him, you got to talk to me." Like, cool, bitch. We're doing this. We'll fucking do this. All right, let's talk. And then all of a sudden he's just like, level like 19, like Goldine, go. And then I'm like, okay, level 40. Anything,
doesn't just matter. Level 40 fire Pokemon, it's gonna still win.
Exactly. So just like I did that out of order, so but just the idea. Plus, he had a little stupid soul patch thing. She's like, that little I like the whole like slouchy thing, So those moments, I know it's meant to be a power fantasy, but those moments are just like, bitch, you just got your ass kicked by an 11-year-old in stupid little like schoolboy short shorts, okay?
Yeah. You know what's another thing I kind of noticed in this game is this was the island of buff women. Did you notice how many like just jacked women are walking around here just like, yo, what's up? Pokemon fighting. Got my cowboy hat on. I was out hiking all night long. You're just like, Jesus, lady, holy crap. Like, where are you working out at? Because I didn't see a single gym like that here.
You see him just like bench pressing a Snorlax, like yeah.
Yeah, because I just noticed like there's a lot of really buff ladies around here. I feel like that's pretty cool, but like you just don't see that very often. But there's like so many of them. Or the other thing I thought that was hilarious is you find a bunch of the random trainers, and do you ever notice how many middle-aged and senior citizen people that are like, I'm a student? Be like, have you not gone home? Like Dad still thinks I'm enrolled, It's like Van Wilder if he never left.
They went out. They just went out on the air quotes treasure hunt, and they never came back. Like I can't go back until I figure out what this is.
Yeah,
or like,
I don't want.
This is how I joined. This is how I got out of joining. This is how I got out of Nom. I had to enlist.
Yeah, you know what? I just thought, at some point they could take you to any war, so it's just best if I just stay in school enrolled. Because I remember I was laughing, I'm like, there's middle-aged people, and then all of a sudden there's like senior citizens. You're like, what the hell? There's like this old lady and stuff. She's like, I'm a student. Be like, Jesus, is this like a school that no one ever graduates from?
Well, I guess if you go to a community college, there always is like the single mom at like the 6 o'clock like algebra 2 class or something. So I could see that, but
there's always that 46-year-old lady who thinks she can relate with the teacher on everything he says and whatnot, and chimes in because she can relate to it all. So she's like, oh, my kid does that all the time. It's like nobody cares. No, don't. Comment. You keep those comments to yourself.
This is like their first like socializing since like the kid left the house.
Exactly, But I thought that was kind of funny. As I said, there is a lot of good, fun stuff about this game, and going out and catching Pokemon's fun. Going out and kind of exploring. There is a bunch of neat stuff. And I will say, story-wise, it is kind of interesting the farther it kind of gets in there, especially once you get done with like the main 3, and then you get to like the post-game thing, and you kind of go from there. There's some kind of interesting stuff that they kind of do in there that I thought was kind of neat and so on. And can
I take a shot in the?
Yeah, go for it.
Can I take a shot in the dark of what the treasure is? Is it friendship, the bonds you make with your Pokemon? Is that the treasure?
Probably something like that for the treasure. I never found any real treasure. I just was thinking that like you're generally going to search for the mullet man's like you're going to search for his father, and then once you kind of find his father, you're like, oh shit, that's actually kind of, it gets slightly dark for an E-rated game for a second there.
Is you go like, I wanted the like, is he like, I'm the one who poisoned his dog or whatever? I hate that fucking dog, always shitting in my shoes.
I wish it went that dark, but no, don't go like that. Just like gets there, his dad. It's just this extra. You think his dad's been the scientist the whole time? No, he's just living this beater trailer down below, just like drinking beers, throwing him in it like his son. Be like, I just kind of lied and told everybody that my dad was a world famous, scientist, and that he just was too busy with his work for me. But really, he's just an alcoholic, and he just loved to beat me and torture me and put his cigarettes out on me. He called me the human ashtray. And he said that when I get to college, I'll be the human ashtray.
And sad thing about it is he was right.
He's like, those Team Stars, they just let me have it in the locker room, especially that little fairy boy. I mean, I'm not calling him a fairy because of that. He's literally a fairy type Pokemon trainer.
Yeah, I'll have to. I don't think anyone's gonna give a shit by the time I beat it. Everyone's mostly beat the game by now, but I'll have to beat it and get there.
Yeah, as I said, it's not too long. It's the normal length of any Pokemon game, so it's not like, it's like, get ready for 45 hours of Pokemon. I mean, Arceus was long. That one took me, I put like almost 40 hours into that thing. So.
Yeah. Well, that one also, I felt like I got more. That one encouraged you to just kind of go out and want to wander around a lot more to see what you came across, where you do that for a little while in this, but it's just not as... Maybe that fear of death in Arceus also adds something to it, So, I hope moving forward they find that weird middle ground between, like, Arceus and this. Like, maybe take the battle system from this, but then the outside world, make it like a more detailed version of Arceus, just because we're at the point now where you can interact with more than just, like, you bumped into it, now you gotta battle it,
Yeah, well, plus it's like one of those ones, like... Especially after Arceus, and even I'll even say after Pokemon, like, Let's Go and stuff like that, like, I like that style of catching Pokemon much more than, like, the old-fashioned, okay, battle it, weaken it, throw a bunch of balls. Like, in this game, too, it felt like this game was, like, Pokemon were, like, way harder to catch than, like, other games. It's just like, Jesus. It's like he's in red, like, and it's not even that fancy of a Pokemon. Why is he breaking all my Ultra Balls?
Yeah, I had that happen a few times, too.
It's like one of those... Then you get to the point where you're like, what? I don't even really want that Pokemon anymore. Screw you. I'm out of here.
You know what? I'm just going to kill... Yeah, because you're like just about out of your inventory by that point. Like, you know what? I'm just going to kill this thing. I don't fucking care anymore.
Yeah, it's just like, whatever. That's not like... I never found a scientist in this game that's like, hey, you got to have like 80 Pokemon to get this cool item. Which mostly every other Pokemon game did. But no, I mean, like, overall, I'm just going to say this. I liked it more the farther I got in the game, I will say. But it does just have, like, it's fun. It's Pokemon. But I think we just had too many good Pokemon games on the Switch in a row, because Let's Go was just awesome. Sword and Shield was great, especially Arceus. That was, like, the pinnacle of them all. Diamond and Pearl was just more just kind of a half-assed remake. It's not bad, but it's just, it's...
It is a half-assed remake.
It is a half-assed remake. That's not saying that Diamond and Pearl's not good, but you know what I mean? They don't really add a whole lot extra to it. And then this one. This one's good, but I just don't think it's as good as the other ones. I felt like it's just, there's some stuff in it that is kind of neat and so on, but it's just, especially after Arceus. I think Arceus just kind of raised that bar a little bit too high,
Yeah. Well, hopefully they iron stuff out in future installments, because it seems like they're kind of listening to fans about certain things about it. So we'll see. But yeah, no, I liked it, and I want to keep on playing it. I want to keep on going. Do you want to take a minute to talk about the Mario trailer, or do you want to do it another time?
No, let's talk about the Mario trailer. I watched that yesterday once I saw that Nintendo Direct come up. And Shigeru Miyamoto's just there. He's just like, come check out our new Donkey Kong design. And you're like, what? Well, yeah, he's different.
Well, yeah, he is.
And I guess I got my Donkey Kong cup and everything.
Oh, you came prepared.
I did. I didn't really mean for that, but it just kind of happened.
Because he's supposed to be like a fusion between, like, Donkey Kong Country and his original design, which I thought was interesting. Which I think that's funny.
The original design, ironically, that's Cranky Kong, though.
Yeah, but I get what they're trying to do with that. But still, just the idea of, like, people are going to complain there's not enough black in his eye or whatever. Let's just fucking throw this out there. So just make them shut the fuck up before they start talking about it.
That's always like of any company. Like there's always that powwow. It's like there's just going to be the fucking bitch nerds. It's like they call themselves fans. They're not fans. They don't like it at all. If they liked it, they wouldn't bitch about everything.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I mean, we've both been on record. Like, neither of us really care about Illumination as a company that much. And I don't know. Maybe maybe this is where the divide starts between us. But like, that looks really good. No. It looks really good. Chris Pratt voice aside, it looks really good. I can't tell it's an Illumination movie until I start really looking for some of the things.
Yeah, because I feel that way too. Because Illumination's one of those ones that. Like I'll say, it's like that Addams Family one. That one wasn't too bad. It does still have the Illumination-ness to it, and I think some of that stuff I don't like is sometimes like a little bit obnoxious characters. They throw in random ass pop culture songs for no reason, but to try to get a laugh and to make the movie feel dated in 6 months. So they do stuff like that. And shit, that guy, like on that Nintendo Direct, the dude who was in charge of Illumination, he looked like he was an Illumination character. Like, when I saw that guy, I was like, oh, no wonder it all looks like Gru. He literally, yeah, I was like, what the heck? I'm like, okay, this is, I'll say this. I don't really care for that animation style, but if the guy looks like it and he's just making the world his way, I give him full props for that.
He just works with a bunch of like short little minion people the whole time. That's just how he sees his work staff.
Yeah, that's what? That's kind of how it is. But I think that's kind of like Illumination's always been that. It's kind of like, I guess this almost reminds me of like, how like the way people used to talk crap on DreamWorks back in like the 2000s. I feel like Illumination sort of filled that void of kind of like, here's the other animation company that, it makes a lot of money, but it's going to make movies that aren't going to be remembered nearly as long. And, they're kind of, already slightly dated. Not saying that not saying they're not good. I'm not saying that, people can't have their favorites and so on like that. It's just, that's sort of how those movies kind of feel. They feel like they're kind of just put out there, like, here's a quick buck, you know what I mean? And I know they're more than a quick buck, but...
Well, DreamWorks was just on that real quick, because they did have some good movies, but they did have some of the very flashy of the moment movies. Let's just get as many big names jammed into this movie as possible, regardless of how big or small their part is, and just a lot of pop culture references and pop songs. But then there would be the ones like, oh, that one was surprisingly good. That one was actually pretty, like Shrek was good, the first Shrek, but then like the others were kind of hit and miss.
Like Ice Age was funny, like, you know what I mean? Like.
That one's Sky. That one's the 20th Century Fox.
Okay, well, never mind. Shit.
Yeah, never. Sky something. Sky. I forgot them.
Yeah, Sky. Whatever.
Yeah, but like they had like a lot of like. So DreamWorks did have some good stuff, but I think their stuff is varied enough by this point to where people like don't like to talk shit on them as much. Plus, they don't make as many movies as they used to. Because they just do a lot more outsourcing stuff.
Yeah, and I felt like it's more like Disney purists were more the people that like to make fun of it, but it's not like Illumination. It's like just generally like I think it's more the Minion stuff, because when I see those Minions, it's like they remind me of the most obnoxious people you can picture at the movie theater, like just running around. It's like, why would I want to see a movie about that the whole time? That just looks like torture almost to me. Like it's not funny. It's like, you know what I mean? Maybe there's a funny moment, but their annoyingness is not going to be funny after so long, but. The Mario movie, the thing I like most about it with both the trailers so far is it looks like it's played very straight. It feels like Mario quite a bit. It's like the only thing I think is kind of weird in the trailer, I will say, is Mario for some reason seems so kind of like he doesn't know what he's doing. He seems kind of cowardly, which Mario always felt like he's kind of in like not as much Sonic attitude-wise, but he always felt like the kind of guy like, Luigi, we know what's going on here. I gotta take care of, you know what I mean? Like, he seemed like the guy who, it's like, you called Mario because you want shit to get done. You know what I mean? But in this one, he's like, oh. He looks like he's like fucking Luigi walking into Luigi's mansion. I'm like, well, that doesn't look like Mario as much.
I don't think he looks scared. I think he looks, well, actually, I guess going into the Coliseum, he's about to get his ass handed to him by a fucking gorilla. But, like, aside from that, like, I kind of, like, I guess they're trying to do the whole real world, like, if someone from the real world got thrown in there, and, like, how you would be like, dude, what the fuck? But he doesn't come across as Luigi to me as much. He does seem to be kind of, like, have a little bit of that false confidence, but trip, which... I'm okay with that because Mario is kind of a bit of a blank slate for the most part. I mean, I know he had more personality in the 90s when he had like a voice in the cartoons other than just saying catchphrases. But I think that I'm still really looking forward to this, and I understand they're trying to build him up.
Yeah.
And I think by the end he's going to become the Mario we think of him as, and I don't really mind that because Mario is just by this point, all the Mushroom Kingdom cast is basically just like blank slate characters that just like throw out a catchphrase and like we clap, you know? So it's just kind of like I don't mind them changing things up a little bit in that department. But what I really do like about it is it looks like Mario. It looks like Mario. It feels like Mario. And I was afraid that it was just going to be, Illumination kind of cartoon, but they look like they're making this an adventure movie. Like, this actually looks like a big adventure movie.
Yeah. No, it looks really good. And I like how they throw a lot of characters in there, too, because I was kind of pausing it, like, on that Mario Kart scene, and there is actually quite a bit of, like, just, like, other kind of random-ass, like, Kooplings and so on in the background and so on like that. Like, I didn't see anything that was, like, another Nintendo character beyond Mario and Donkey Kong, but,
There's like Cranky Kong was in there.
Yeah, Cranky Kong. Like, there's a lot of... there was the...
Funky Kong.
Yeah, Funky Kong was in there, and there was a couple of the other ones from the N64 game that were in there, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So, like, there's more characters than you would think. Yeah, I mean, overall, it looks really good. And as I said, that Mario thing, that's, like, such a light kind of... Like, I just kind of felt like, that just doesn't seem like the Mario we kind of know. But, like, maybe it is just, like, by the end, he's gonna have his shit all together, and, he will be kind of... I mean, I guess even Sonic the Hedgehog in the first Sonic movie, he's confident, but he's not, like, ridiculously confident yet.
Yeah, and he does more running away than running towards the fight. But something else I appreciate, 'cause, I mean, it's an easy thing to do, but every so often, even though we both like the original Mario movie, mm-hmm. There's a whole thing like people are like, what the fuck's a Super Mario? People aren't gonna know what this is. They don't, like, you gotta relate to the kids. They gotta know a Super Mario for this to make sense to them, So, like, I feel like by this point it's something that's been around here for so long. People are like, oh, you grab a flower, you get fire powers, So it's not like some overly convoluted thing they have to come up with. You see Peach, and I'm glad they showed Peach doing it because they're referencing the newer games. Peach grabs the fire flower, and you see her outfit changes to the color, and she's just fiddling around with the fireball. You see Mario in the Tanuki suit, so I'm like, oh shit, they actually have proper power-ups in this, and it's not some, like, little... I mean, who knows? Maybe just those are two just good examples, but they have proper power-ups, yep. And they don't have to come up with some convoluted plot device to why, like, oh, well, let me give you this flame-retardant suit that just happens to be white and red, and there's a flower thing that's powered in the back or whatever. You know what I mean? Just fucking go with it.
It just is what it is, No, I think that's kind of cool because in that second trailer, it really does just show a bunch of that kind of stuff and goes, oh, okay, awesome. This is definitely coming along, and it looks very legitimate. And I feel even, like, for the most part, most of the voices kind of work out fine. Like, the chick from, like, the Northman, like, playing Peach, like, I think that sounds good. Jack Black, I still felt like, even though you can kind of tell it's Jack Black, he's still doing his Bowser impression pretty well. It's not like he's Jack Black in it too much. He feels like he is trying to really play a character. And then, as I said, Mario and Luigi are the only ones they sound a little bit off. They just sound like, I feel like they could have had a thicker, I feel like you could have just got an Italian person. I don't know. For some reason, we have to get the right, person for all these other things, but not when it comes to Italians or Irish people.
Well, I'll say Charlie Day is Luigi. That is something to the effect of, like, you know what? If you tell me who would you get to play Luigi, he is not someone who immediately comes to mind, if at all. But then once I heard it, like, oh my god, that is fucking, like, perfect. And hearing it, like, just the thing, like, in like a cartoon like this, I can definitely see that kind of writing and his kind of acting fitting Luigi really well. Mm-hmm. Mario seems to be doing more of just kind of like, rather than being like, it's a me, it's more of like Joe Schmo kind of thing, what they're doing with Mario, which I get. I mean, and I said this on Octorok Talk, but I'll say it here. I know Charles Martinet. We all love Charles Martinet, and if he was voicing Mario, I'd be fine with that. I'd be cool with that. But at the same time, like, I kind of prefer Mario having, like, a more, like, doesn't have to be Chris Pratt, but like a more Brooklyn accent. Like, I know that, like, in the 90s cartoon, even though the 90s cartoon wasn't that good, he had more of a, like, oh, what the hell is this, Luigi? He didn't say that, it's a cartoon. But, he would, be like, he said, but the thing is, I like that because he just sounded like he was a real person, not like a flat-out cartoon character. So I think that, even if they were to get Charles Martinet to voice Mario in this, it would probably be something to the effect of, like, just... You don't have to be Mario, but do the way you do it, but tone it back. Do something in the middle ground,
Well, yeah, I'll say it's like, personally, my favorite kind of Mario kind of voice is that sort of like Mario Super Show cartoon voice / Bob Hoskins. Because I think that's the thing is, like, when you think about Mario, like, well, what is he? He's a super blue collar guy from Brooklyn. Well, how is he going to sound? Like, he's going to sound like a super blue collar guy from Brooklyn, And I kind of wish that's almost, I mean, I know that this is getting to like armchair directing, and I think that it's one of those ones that maybe the average person they don't picture that. They don't know what blue collar means. They don't, know where Brooklyn is and all this kind of stuff. So maybe that kind of stuff has always kind of gone out the window, But I do kind of wish he did just have. That's why I like the idea that Mario's kind of like, he's got attitude. He knows what's up. I mean, I know that's like the Bob Hoskins one. It's like, it's the guy he's realistic, but he's got the skills. He's got, the abilities and so on like that to get the job done. He's been working at it for a while. Like, I like that kind of Mario personality. Like, I feel like if you want to put the new guy to the job, that's where Luigi comes in. He's the new guy. He's the everyman guy. If you need the relatable character, he can be the relatable character. He's the guy who maybe it's his first experience. I feel that's kind of it. I mean, I'm not saying that, Chris Pratt will probably be fine. That, you only hear a couple lines from him on there anyways. And he's doing like, it's just that weird thing because I feel like Chris Pratt, he's a great Chris Pratt actor. I just don't know if he's a character actor, though. I've never really seen him, everything he always kind of does, he's kind of Chris Pratt is that guy. Not, he's like Clint Eastwood. You know what I mean? Like, and it's weird, the very rare Clint Eastwood movie you get where he's character acting. You're like, what the fuck?
Why is he a clown? Yeah. No. Yeah. But the thing with that, though, just going off the Mario-ness, or there's a Chris Pratt-ness thing I was going to say. Shit. You're talking about... fuck, I had something there. You're saying something to the effect of like Mario Brooklyn, being kind of like...
Blue collar.
Brooklyn, the guy who has it down, and then Luigi being the new guy. Oh, actually, I remember what I was going to say. I got a feeling, and this is just going off a couple of shots in the trailer, because there's some shots where it shows him, looks like he's probably in some fancy Brooklyn loft and doing some plumbing stuff. You just tell by the faucet, it looks a little fancier, and he's all examining it and all that. I could see it being something to the effect. I mean, you even see like there's like promo art where you see like the van, and it has Super Mario Bros. Plumbing. It's a picture of him jumping with a plunger. I could see it being something to the effect of like he's supposed to look out for Luigi. Something kind of like the original script that we covered back before the original movie got made, know? Not to the point where it's like Rain Man, but to the point where it's like he's supposed to look out for his brother, and the one time he didn't really look out for his brother, he got captured by Bowser, got pulled away, so now he's more interested in almost saving his brother than anything else, because, there's even that shot where you see both their hands grip, like kind of like that brother bond, like fuck yeah, that kind of moment. So I'm guessing that's either right where they get separated or they meet up again for the first time. One of those kind of things.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm thinking it's Mario's going to rescue Luigi kind of thing, and then along the way, he meets Princess Toadstool, and of course the whole Mushroom Kingdom and all that good stuff there. Donkey Kong probably he's going to have like a Knuckles thing where he battles Donkey Kong at first, then he becomes like his teammate. Somehow, some way Mario Kart's in there. God knows how that's coming together, but I like the idea that was there. I didn't expect that.
Yeah. And just sorry if I'm not as articulate in this episode. I got up at 4:30 in this morning, and it's 11:30 here now. There was the other point I was going to make is maybe it's about Mario more of kind of like realizing to not try and be the superstar, but try and put others before him. I could see it being kind of like that, just to kind of give some kind of character building thing, because we see he has a little bit of false confidence in some scenes, and there's that whole part where he looks like really determined, like he's all amped and ready to handle like this plumbing situation, but Luigi's just kind of like Luigi's carrying the bag, so I'm guessing it's something more to that effect,
Yeah.
That's just my guess. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, I think that all these things are kind of all like plausible ideas, and it's one of those things. Like, don't get me wrong, this movie I'm looking more forward to than pretty much almost anything else coming out. Like, I can't think of something else that I'm more excited to see than a Mario movie again. So, there's that. And as I said, it looks legitimately good. I think Illumination's not putting their Illumination touch on there, and I think that's the smart thing. I hopefully hope that that's not one of those ones they're just hiding that from the trailers to make Shigeru Miyamoto happy or something like that. But
yeah, well, I feel like it's something to the effect of maybe back, even though I know it's known we both like the original movie, the studio didn't really respect the source material. At least by the time they were making it, they didn't respect it. So I feel like that at the time, like, what the fuck's this shit? Whatever. People are going to forget about it in 3 years. Let's try and get it out now and make some money off it. Where this is now, everyone knows what Mario is. Mario is a very well-respected thing. And like, okay, they're very hesitant to give licensing out to anybody. Mm-hmm. Let's not fuck this up, and let's try and prove people wrong about us just being kind of like minions and fart jokes and stuff, And
I think that's true. I think it's that, and then I think it's the other one. Be like, well, we can't let Sega win now. You know what I mean? I think there's also that thing that like, no. If Mario's going to be the best, video game movie of like the modern age, I think there's a lot riding there because of how good Sonic is.
Yeah, especially Sonic 2 is really good, and I think this movie was supposed to come out this year. This holiday season actually is when this movie was originally supposed to come out, and then like shortly after Sonic did really good at the box office, they're just like, we're pushing it back. I'm like, I thought everything's just about done by now. What are you pushing back on?
Like, you got to make it better and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully I think that it will all come together. You know what I mean? I think it will be. I think it is kind of that time period where we finally got to the point where the people that are kind of making stuff are like legitimate gamers, not just like, hey, I played that when I was, 10 years old. I played some Asteroids back in the day, not just one of those anymore. I think it's finally gotten to a point where, okay, the people all on the team all probably like Mario. I mean, you got to think about the average person probably working at that studio is between the ages of probably 25 and 45. That's all in like the prime gamer age. So
yeah. So
and shit, they're working on 3D animation. That's probably all they ever did was play video games.
Yeah, so I got high hopes for this movie. I'm not going in like, let's see what they do with it. No, I think it's going to be good, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so, well, good stuff on the horizon. All kinds of Nintendo stuff to look forward to. But yeah, beyond all that good fun stuff, you can always go to oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comic books like Pizza Boys, old animations, and other fun stuff. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
And we'll see you some other day.
Later, folks.